Good morning, everyone. I'm Jeanette Larsen from Growth Unlimited, and I'm here today because we're learning how to take control of our lives. This is starting a new series of videos that we're going to be doing with our YouTube channel ongoing that are going to address things that are a little more personal to me. Many years ago, I found myself in a position where I was struggling really hard with my life too. And at that time, I went through a process with my own personal development where I discovered some things about myself that led me to becoming a psychotherapist. And my disillusionment with the kinds of results that we were having happen with psychotherapy with most people led me to become switching to being a life coach. I found it interesting over the last year and a half as I've been working with people as a life coach. I've had several situations where people have come to me and said, "But you have it all together. Your life is perfect. Everything is wonderful." And I want to dispel that illusion. I don't think that there is anybody in this world who has a perfect life. The very fact that we are in life is part of a process. Personal development is something that happens all through our lives, every moment, every day. And it happens whether or not we're choosing to do anything to facilitate the process. The only difference is people who are engaged in personal development activities actually have more control of what's going on. And this is one of the home truths that I had to learn, because we are raised in our society to kind of wait for other people to do things for us. Now, as you listen to the media, as you get on Facebook and you look at Facebook, you see lots and lots of people who are very disillusioned and very unhappy with what's going on in their lives. My life was the same way. There was a period in my life where I completely, totally shut down. And that started my sojourn into therapy that lasted 25 years. One of the things that happened at the end of that time, when I realized that ultimately it was my decision to make the choice to change my life, that I wasn't going to be able to look to somebody else to do it for me. And one of the things that happened at that point is I learned a few things that have made my life very much better. One of the reasons that I am now a life coach, and one of the reasons that I'm doing this YouTube channel, is to help other people learn the skills that they need to learn in order to take control of their lives. And so when I have clients come to me and say, "You have it all together, everything is great for you," I just have to kind of smile and back away, because every day of my life, I am in the trenches just like everybody else. Every day of my life, I make mistakes. Every day of my life, I am learning, I am growing, I am changing. That is part of being alive. And it's not something that you can have somebody else do for you by going to a therapist or to a life coach and expecting to be fixed. Because ultimately, if you don't make the changes in your life, they're not going to happen. So, in this video, I'm going to talk with you a little bit about a few of the home truths that I have learned. And then in future videos in this series, we are going to be talking about what I am personally doing to take control of my life. I'm hoping that by sharing this information with you, it will help you learn what you can do to take control of your life as well. Because each one of us want to have our lives the way we want them. And there are things that we have to do to make that happen. Okay, so the truths that I have discovered about life in general include the following. We've talked a little bit about some of this. First of all, it's up to me. Nobody else can do it for me. Now, there are times in everyone's life when we need help, and there's nothing wrong with reaching out for help at that particular point in time. However, the problem is so many people now are crying out for help, but they don't want to do anything to fix it themselves. And they keep crying out for help. It's really interesting to me that as I work with homeless populations and other groups of people who feel extremely downtrodden, the focus is always on what somebody else needs to do for them. The focus is never on what they need to do to change the situation for themselves. And it really doesn't matter what it is. Ultimately, that change, if you want a change in your life, has to come from within. And there isn't anything that you can do to force somebody else to make that change for you. So, and that's a hard truth to learn. But the thing is, every time you are expecting somebody else to do something for you, or every time you are looking for somebody else to solve the problem for you, what ends up happening is, in our society, we do reach out and we try to help. But with that help come rules. And so many of the people that I have worked with over the last 15 years have come to me really, really frustrated and upset because there were rules that they had to obey. Recently I talked to a gentleman who was homeless, and he was telling me how he hated living on the street. And I said to him, well, you know, you're in a situation right now where you can't really afford a place of your own to live. So why aren't you taking advantage of the shelters and the support systems that are in place? And he told me he didn't want to because there were too many restrictions and rules that he would have to live by going there. Well, I'm sorry to say this, but there are rules in life everywhere we go. And in our world, and it doesn't matter what kind of political system you live in, somebody makes the rules, and the more you are handed without having to work for it yourself, the more rules there are that you have to obey. That's just simply a fact of life. And so if you don't want rules, the way to fight that and the way to change that for yourself is to learn the lesson that I learned. I started making my own rules when I started taking responsibility for myself. Okay, and the way you do that is while you are accepting the help, because sometimes there are times you have to. You don't have a choice in whether you're going to receive help or not. But while you are accepting that help, you need to keep working yourself to reach a point where you don't have to have that help so that you can start making your own rules. Okay, another home truth is that personal development is ongoing. It never ends. You know, when a client comes to me and says to me, but you're already self-actualized, again, I have to smile, because every time I achieve something in my life, every time I reach a level where I have achieved a goal, there's always another goal in front of me. And that's the way life is. We don't get to sit back on our laurels and just bask in life. Even people who appear to be sitting back and enjoying life because they've worked hard all their lives and they're nearing the end of their life are still out there improving and making their lives what they want them to be. Okay, there are some things that over the years, as I have started my evolution, let me rephrase that, as I have actively started my evolution, there are some things I've learned about myself. Now, there was a time when I too was looking to somebody else to solve my problems. And making the transition to starting to take control of my own life was a hard one. And it's one that took me a long time to get involved in. It's interesting because I find myself as I work with other people who approach me and see what we have to offer at Growth Unlimited, and then back away because they just simply are not ready to take responsibility or move forward with their lives. Sometimes it's a little frustrating to me because I know where they are and I know the things that they're going to be facing by making that choice. But ultimately, it is their life. It is their choice. And so I have to kind of bite my tongue, and this is one of my things I'm working on with my own personal development right now, and back away and say, it is your life, and I'm here when you're ready. So what I've learned about me in that process is, first of all, I need to be completely honest. I need to be honest with myself, look at the bad things in my life, look at the good things in my life, and I need to be direct and fair with everyone else that I talk to too. Now, this doesn't mean that I'm cruel. Once in a while there are things that come out that are a little hard for people to hear as I'm working with people, and sometimes people become a little bit offended. But one of the things that I try to do is work very closely with people so that they know that there is no ill in my heart as far as what I'm saying to them. I am not in a position where I'm trying to sway them or manipulate them into doing something that they don't want to do. But I do say it like it is. And I do it with myself too. I try very, very hard not to justify, not to make excuses, not to try to do things to make myself feel better. I look at things the way they are and deal with them the way they are. And the second thing I've had to learn about myself is I needed to accept responsibility for who I am and what I stand for. And that goes both ways. If what I am, what I believe, and what I stand for is difficult for other people, that may be the way it is, but it doesn't change who I am. Knowing my values, knowing my principles, knowing what I believe and what I stand for is critical to my ability to progress in my own life. And being willing to accept the responsibility for those things. And when I make a mistake, to do what I need to do to repair the damage that may have been caused in the process is all on me. I don't sit back and blame other people. I can't sit back and blame other people because ultimately I am master of my own fate. And trying to blame somebody else for what goes on is just simply a way of deferring that responsibility. And once again, that doesn't happen because ultimately I am responsible for me. Okay, and my values-driven life is important to me too. I have values, I have beliefs, I have principles that I live by. And people understand who I am and know exactly where they stand with me based on those values, principles, and beliefs. For that reason, it's really, really important for me to live by what I stand for. And sometimes that can be difficult too. And it's one of the things that I struggle with because I get caught up in what I want rather than what I need. And sometimes those wants will fly against the beliefs or principles or values that I have. That's part of the condition of being human. And it's a daily struggle. It's something we do every day. But what I've discovered is that as I take control of my life, that battle, that struggle is worth every second. And I also have learned not to let other people who don't share my values or my beliefs or my principles sway me. I don't worry very much anymore about what somebody else says or what somebody else believes. I know who I am. I know what I stand for. I'm willing to take the responsibility for what it is that I believe and I say. And I invite other people to share that with me and move along with me. But I don't switch and change on the whim of somebody else's opinion. And I've discovered I have to be action-oriented. I can't sit back and complain that things aren't going the way I want them to go without doing something to change that. Here again, I'm master of my own fate. I have the power to make the changes that I want to have happen in my life. And being willing to look at a situation if I'm not happy with it and say, okay, fine, what do I want to have happen and how am I going to get there, is the very essence of personal development and self-actualization. And I have to be open to learning. Every day of my life, there's something new I'm learning. Even as old as I am, and even though I've had a great deal of formal education, every day I learn something new. It's really interesting because especially over the last year and a half since Growth Unlimited was developed, I have actually been inundated in a process of learning. And it was for economic necessity. I am not a computer programmer. And Growth Unlimited is an online community. Virtually everything we do is online. I did not create videos. I was not a cinematographer or a videographer prior to a year and a half ago. And it's felt really interesting because in that time, with the amount of studying and the amount of learning and the amount of time that I have spent learning how to do those things, I have felt like I was back in 3 or 4 college or even graduate school programs simultaneously. And there was a huge amount of pressure because I didn't have the 3 or 4 years that it normally takes to get another degree to learn that material. It was material I had to have yesterday. And so it has been an interesting progress. It's been an interesting experience progressing through that. And I'm not totally there yet. There's still a long way for me to go. Like I said, I learn new things every single day. Anyway, the thing is, learning is a lifelong process. And a lot of the people that I've talked to feel like they went through school, they didn't particularly care for school, and so they were out of school and they don't want it anymore. Well, I'm sorry, here again, it's a process. And whether you're doing formal education or not, whether you're actively involved or not in what's going on, you are learning. The thing is, are you learning something that's going to be productive in helping you take control of your life? What I had to learn is that the learning that I want to do, I want to be productive. And so I had to change my focus a little bit. Okay, my process has been a long time. I have been at the bottom of the heap. There was a point in my life when I spent a very long period of my life hell-bent on destroying my life. And I learned during that time too. I learned that I had the power to make the changes, to make the kind of life that I wanted to have. And my goal when I became a therapist, first of all, was to help other people learn that kind of thing. I transitioned to being a life coach rather than a therapist because as a life coach, I can do that more effectively. And when I make videos for YouTube, the goal is to help people learn skills that I have learned that have helped me start taking control of my life. And I invite you to join with me on that journey. There are going to be some major changes coming up in my life over the next year. This is the time of year. It's now mid-October. And this is the time of year that I start looking at what I have achieved in the past year, looking at an overview, because there's a constant analysis of what I'm doing so that I can move forward. But I start looking at what I've achieved as an overview of the past year and what I want to see happen in the next year. And I'm starting to put together the goals and the things that I'm going to do during 2021 to make that happen in my life. And I'm going to share this process with you as time goes on. And so when you see a video that has the thumbnail, that's the title page for the video, that looks similar to what the thumbnail for this page looks, check it out. I'd love to share with you what I'm doing to take control of my life. And perhaps that will help you learn a little bit more about me as a person and who I am and why I do the things that I do. And maybe it will help you in your process too. I'd like to hear from each one of you what it is that you're doing to take control of your life and how you feel about personal development. Please subscribe and share your comments below. If you're interested in getting more ideas on what you can do to take control of your life the way you want it done, I would love to see you visit our website at www.growthunlimited.org. I've also included that link below. Check us out. Check out the classes at Growth University. See what it is that will help you take control of your life too. You're going to be hearing more from me about what I'm doing, and I'd love to have your comments on what you think about what it is that I'm doing. Let's work together so that we can all create the kind of life that we want to have. Remember, it's your life. Have it your way.